South Africa leveled the series 2-2 as we go into the final game in Johannesburg. A fantastic performance by South Africa today. Ruthless, dominant, brilliant. There's so many words I can use to describe it. Under pressure in what is essentially a knockout game, you could call it. I mean, Sean Pollard called it that. A semi-final in a way, and then the final at Johannesburg. To claim a massive victory in Centurion, 164 runs. South Africa won by, and it was a brilliant performance. First with the bat and then with the ball. So overall, great performance from South Africa and something that we can really be proud of as a fan base. We were waiting for a performance like this. And let's see what happened in this game, obviously in this review show. But before we get going with today's show, before we get started, there's a couple of things I'd like you guys to please do. First and foremost, subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell for all future videos. And I also would like you guys to please subscribe to the magazine. It's 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month. The link is on the screen right now as well as in the description. I also like you guys to please become a patron today. If you want to help and support us here at Cricket Fanatics Magazine and everything that we do, then please become a patron today. You can do that by the link on the screen or in the description. Ultimately, that's how you show your support and keep us going here and doing what we are doing. I also urge all of you guys to please smash the like button, comment, and share, and go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all your regular updates. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's review show. I'm looking forward to discussing this with you guys. Evening and welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your review show. I'm your host Khalid. And this is the show where we talk about a massive victory by South Africa against Australia in the fourth ODI at Centurion, a thumping victory for the Proteas, some revenge as well throughout for what we witnessed in the T20 series and in the first two T20s. Ultimately, I think this was a fantastic team performance. It wasn't just a performance by some people, and that's what I think I appreciate about this particular win in general. So, to give you guys a quick overview of what happened in the match, I'm going to be sharing my screen with you right now with the scorecard. So, for the guys that never got the chance to obviously watch the game and are coming on the stream to obviously see what took place by listening to our review. So South Africa lost the toss, and Australia put South Africa into bat first. And it was on a Centurion wicket that really looked like a good one. Based on what the pitch report said, it was a good wicket, very nicely kept. Looked like there was going to be a big score at this ground. But I don't think Australia thought that South Africa would put on a performance like they did here. There was it was a slow start first and foremost by South Africa. They took a very long time to get to the 100-run mark. They went way over 20 overs to get that 100-run mark, to get to that 100-run mark today. So the power play wasn't as effective as it was previously. I mean, even if you look at Quinton de Kock's 45, it came off 64 balls. And Reza Hendricks looked really good. He looked really solid, getting his first opportunity, first start of the year as an opener from that he's had in a very long time. In the absence of Temba Bavuma, who had who was sidelined as a precaution basically because he had a little niggle. So Aiden Markram captained the side today. And Reza and Kwani got off to a good start of 64-run partnership, and they looked really good. Like they were getting themselves in, and then they were going to kick on. Quinton de Kock threw his wicket away again today, 45 before a milestone. So, but at least he scored in basically every single game for South Africa, a decent amount of runs in every single game that he's played so far. So he's looking in good touch, even though he has lost his wickets prematurely. We're hoping that he can obviously turn it on in the World Cup and really play a great knocks there. Then Rassie van der Dussen came in, and it was about time that we see him in his old form again and hitting his form again. And he did 62 of 65 balls, 7 4s and 2 6s with a strike rate of 95.38. Took it some time. He hit a four, I think, of one of his first deliveries. Um, so it was like it was a really good performance from him. I think he really pulled the game together, even though Quinton de Kock lost his wicket. They pushed till 95 for two after 20 overs. They were batting quite slowly, but he kicked on and got a half century, which is needed. So we asked for a shootout between Riza and Rassie for that number 3 spot. And Rassie won today. I mean, obviously getting that 62 that he desperately needed to maybe, hopefully this will be a resurgent of his form going in, leading into the warm-up games and then into the World Cup. Aiden Markram, unfortunately, the only player not to score runs today. Only 8 runs he scored today. But then came a masterclass performance. South Africa were 194 for 4 when they lost Rassie van der Dussen after 34.4 overs. And then Andy KLAASEN and David Miller played a magnificent partnership that really took South Africa into a record total. It was a fantastic performance from the two of them. I think that it really showed what they can do when there is a platform set, because ultimately that is something that we always ask for. Now, to have a quick look at the partnerships were key today. 64 and then 74 by Andre KLAASEN and Rassie van der Dussen. KLAASEN in that partnership scored 45 of 34 balls. Fantastic. He really took the fight to the Australians and he dominated. But this was just 222 runs of 94 balls by Andre KLAASEN and David Miller that really stood out and was the key factor. Andre KLAASEN, hats off to you. A magnificent performance today. Showing your talent, showing your ability. A lot of people last season were starting to doubt Andre KLAASEN and his ability, but he's really showed people that he is one of the best white ball players in the world at the moment, and he needs to get all the plaudits for that performance. Just look at that wagon wheel. I mean, a fantastic performance, 174 runs of 83 balls, 13 fours, 13 sixes, hitting all around the ground. It was an amazing performance. Probably one of the best knocks that I've seen at Centurion, of course. It's the second highest score at Centurion after the Cox 178. I think it's the 4th highest score at the ground as well. So these are just a couple of the records that I want to notice. It was the second highest ODI score at SuperSport Park, and it was the 8th highest score for South Africa in one-day internationals, 174, just behind Gibbs's 175 in Johannesburg in 2006. So a fantastic performance from KLAASEN. I mean, we really need to take our hats off to him. But that partnership with David Miller was also amazing in this game. He really also deserves plaudits for being the perfect partner for someone like Andre KLAASEN. It was a very good performance from David, and it's almost like our batters are hitting their form at the perfect time, and that's what I think is brilliant from this series. We said that we'd like to see this, some of us said 3-2 to South Africa in the live chat before the ODIs. It's maybe looking likely now. I mean, we've really dented Australia. I mean, Travis Head is out now as well. I mean, the update from about Travis Head, I'll just read you that update quickly. Travis Head will go to hospital for a scan on his hand, finger tonight. No further details likely until tomorrow. So he's going for a scan at the hospital because of his finger. But there's some other records that I want to mention. This was just to show how amazing this particular innings was. It is the highest total at Supersport Park, 416 for five. It's also the fifth highest total by South Africa in one day internationals. So, and it's against Australia as well. So it is a massive performance. But we have to say, fantastic performance by Andy Klaasen. Obviously, has to be the man of the match. But fantastic performance. He really took Australia out of the equation completely in this game. We were looking at maybe 320, 330 at some point, or maybe even 300 at some point, and then all of a sudden, Andy Klaasen just turned it up at Centurion and they smacked the Australian bowlers all around the ground. I mean, most expensive innings by Josh Hazelwood, 2 for 79 at a economy of 790. Most expensive overs by or in performance by Adam Zampa, figures by Adam Zampa, 0 for 113. It just shows, like, we know we love to criticize bowlers and etc., but it just shows the wrist spinners are always going to be um, under the spotlight. There's always going to be a time, as good as you are, that you're going to have a bad patch or a bad game where you're going to get slaughtered. That is just the mystique and magic behind a wrist spinner. So that's always something that's going to be on the cards or under that will be a threatening or threat for those particular bowlers. Then let's get into Australia's innings. South Africa won top from the beginning. First and foremost, Ngidi was phenomenal today. 4 for 51 of 8 overs. 6.37. His lines and lengths were brilliant. He was excellent. With his pace was up there. Okay, unfortunately, he did go off with a little bit of it might be cramp. We're not 100% sure what is actually wrong with him at the moment. But he bowled fantastically today, and I think the whole unit actually bowled pretty well today. I mean, Kagiso Rabada, brilliant to see him in the wickets tally and good economically as well, 3 for 41. Cheryl Kutsia was a bit expensive, 7 for 73 of 9.12 overs, and Marco Jansen, 1 for 55 of 9.6 economy of the 6 overs. So he was quite expensive, Marco. We need to find a way on how to utilize Marco better. Maybe just going back to basics and hitting his lines consistently. And then Keshav Maharaj, of course, taking a brilliant wicket, 1 for 27. So the bowling unit really stepped up today to defend us. They bowled Australia out for 252. I mean, 164-run victory for South Africa. Complete dominance. A very proud performance. I'm sitting here as a fan right now, extremely proud at the performance that we saw today. I mean, um, considering the amount of criticism the Proteas have been getting recently with their recent performances, I just have to say that I'm extremely proud of this team. This is exactly what I wanted to see from them. This is exactly the fight back I was talking about. And we're now going with hectic momentum. I think actually, regardless of what happens in that final game, I think that this team has started to come together and find some form. I think we're hitting form at the perfect time. Um, there is a little bit of an issue. I think that we can either play one or the other. It has to either be Gerald or Marco that has to play one of those youngsters in the World Cup. I don't think that playing both of them is a wise idea based on the experience. They can go for quite a bit of runs and be quite expensive. So Andrich Nokia has to get fit and come back into this team, because I think that will happen. I think he will play majority of the games, and then Gerald will play a few to give him some rest. But I think overall, a fantastic victory. I'm very proud of this team and the way they performed. I think it was a phenomenal performance by all the guys all around. So, yeah, I think we can only talk positively about this, and we can only praise these guys for the way they performed today. It was a very good performance, and I'm very proud of this team. It took a lot. It would have taken a lot for them to win a game like this, because we wouldn't have thought that they would turn it around with how dominant Australia were playing. I mean, throughout the series, even the T20 series, Australia looked untouchable almost. So it was really good to see this performance as a whole. And it's good to see that the batters are coming, that every single game there were different batters that stepped up. We've had Temba Bavuma step up, Connie de Kock be a little bit more consistent. And unfortunately, he's not getting consistent half centuries, but it's close. And I'm hoping that he will be hungry enough to turn those now into the World Cup, because he is a kind of guy that will score massive scores in lump sums, like after each other. So I'm hoping that this will start. He's a little bit stifled here, and it makes him more hungry in the World Cup. We've seen a great performance from Aiden Markram, now Heinrich Klaasen, David Miller. We've seen good performances with the ball, with regards to Terbey Shamsi, Keshav Maharaj, now Lungi Ngidi as well, KG Rabada. I think everybody's now performed on this particular ODI leg, which makes it fantastic going into this World Cup. At least everybody got a performance in here. So that's where I'm sitting currently, and that's what I think. So let's get a caller on the show and a panelist on the show that I've been waiting to talk to for quite some time again, and that's Werner. Welcome to the show, brother. Great to see you again. Hope you're well. Tell me, Werner, like this performance. How proud of you are the guys on the way they've turned it around in this ODI series?
Yeah, very proud. I think people were a bit down in the dumps after those first two matches, and I just said that I know we're not a bad team, and I do expect us to come back well. So I'm glad that they did, that they proved me right in that sense. So great performances. I mean, won by 111 runs that last game in the end, and then this one 164. That's a big comeback from where we were in the first two matches. Some unbelievable batting, a lot better bowling today as well. Even though we still conceded quite a lot per over, but they had to go hard. I thought we were a lot better in the power play. The combo of Lungi and KG were very good there at the beginning. Lungi in particular, great to see him come back to close to his best. I think that's important in the lead up to the World Cup. And I said earlier that the three guys we need to big with the bat, just because the race have in this series was Rassi, Klaasen, and Miller, and all three of the same match. And so that's just great, and that's exactly what we would have wanted now, just ahead of the World Cup. And
Mhm.
yeah, I guess not a lot you can say about Klaasen at this. I mean, we've
No.
seen him do this all year. He's been incredible. He's smashed 100 in the ASA 20, then he smashed 100 in the IPL. Um, he smashed 100 in the Major League Cricket, I think. He was very good in the 100. Consistently in the top run scorers, top strike rate, top six hitters, and now he's also doing it here for the Proteas, second 100 of the year. Incredible batting. Yeah, he's in the best form of his life, and really the guy we want in that middle order in the World Cup.
Yeah, definitely. What I loved the most about today's game actually was the fact that we built a platform. We batted quite slowly at first at the beginning, and it was looking a little bit subdued at first. I was a bit worried. I'm like, this is Centurion. We should be, being a little bit more powerful in the power plays, etc. But what impressed me is that there was a platform set for Klaasen and Miller, and they came in and they did exactly what we expect from them, and that's something that doesn't often happen. We don't always get to exactly what we want. So as a fan today, I'm really happy about this performance because we got exactly what we wanted when we are faced with a scenario where those two come to the crease. Um, when it comes to the batting performance and the batters right now, do you think that we are hitting the form at exactly the right time, or do you feel that maybe we still lacking something, or do you think that we have a great batting unit going into this World Cup, one that can beat any team on any day? Because that's actually what we're going to be able to need, because we have to play everybody and beat everybody to win this World Cup.
Yeah, I think we are hitting form at the right time. I'm still concerned that we have Janssen at seven, and then the rest of the
Mm.
bowlers. I still feel that we have a better light, but we have to accept it now because this is what we've decided, and Janssen will be seven, and so we have to make peace with that. I still think we can go slightly harder in the power play.
Yeah.
Even though we did exceptionally well in the back half of this match, I won't take back what I said at the beginning that I felt we were not showing enough intent, and there were dot balls at first half, the first 25 overs of the match. I feel the same. We ended up smashing over. This type of thing doesn't happen every day. So I still feel we go a bit harder in that power play. And not being reckless, I don't want them to go all guns blazing necessarily like Australia do, because obviously we don't have that depth in our batting like they do. But we
Mm.
can look to be a bit more positive, I feel. But all in all, it looks a lot better. Our bowling still has some ways to go. The pace bowlers, Gerald's still a bit inconsistent. Same with Marku. That is a bit of a concern that they aren't able to hit that consistent areas. But I think they'll learn in time, especially Gerald. He bowled with a lot of fire today, even though he ended up conceding a lot. There was also that one where KG lost the ball where he should have picked up Tim David, and
Yeah.
that over wouldn't have gone for as much as it did. So that dents a bowler's figures as well. But if we have our best bowlers back and we have KG, Lungi, and Anas in tandem, I'm sure we'll do all right.
Yeah. So let's talk about the bowling. I know you touched on it over there, and spoke about quite a bit there. Actually, not didn't touch on it, but you went quite in depth over there. I want to talk about specifics now because to me it does look like they now that it was a maybe a rhythm thing, fatigue thing. Maybe perhaps it was just rustiness from the bowling side for not playing for a very long time. That's how it came across to me. That's how it's coming across to me when I'm looking at these bowlers as they are progressing. Um, so, do you agree with that? Do you think that as the more they play now with the warm up games, by the time we get to that World Cup, they'll be a lot more fit, a lot more in their rhythms, and can play at a much higher level when like we expect them to. Because a bowling attack of KG and Anrich, and then only because I see them maybe rotating Anrich with maybe Gerald, and then maybe rotating some of the players with each other according to if they're going to play two spinners or not. So having all of them run into this is about getting the rhythm in their legs and continuous rhythm. I think this is probably the first time we're going into a World Cup, maybe saying that for the last two World Cups at least, where we are a little bit shaky with regards to our belief in our bowlers. So do you think that they look like they are getting at least better? I mean, and they're getting that rhythm. And do you think it's maybe a rhythm thing and a lack of game time, maybe by some of our bowlers? That's maybe the reason for this.
Yeah, potentially, and probably also in tandem with Australia's approach. Not a lot of teams come out that hard as they
Yeah.
have it this series, and it's been a clear tactic from them. So, um, yeah, I think our bowlers are getting better. Both KG and Lungi looked a lot better today. Our spinners have done well in the last couple of matches, which is good to see. It's going to be important in India. And yeah, we'll probably see them rotate the bowlers a bit. The World Cup is a long tournament. We play 9 matches the course season.
Yeah, Vernus is having a little bit of a problem with his internet at the moment. Werner, if you want to, you can try to log back in, or are you okay now? I don't know. I think he's having a little bit of issues with his internet. I'll get him to this reconnect again. Um, so let me. I think it's spot on. I think it's about. I think I personally think it's got a lot to do with the rhythm. So let me get into the live chat quickly and read some of your comments. I'm sorry that we had to cut Werner a little bit short. I'll go from the bottom because there's been way too much. I can't go right from the top today. Okay, so let's start with Lawrence. He says, extremely proud, Khalid. We went in on them when we got thumped. So only right that we praise them now. Always said that if we play our best cricket, Australia won't beat us. Kani says it's difficult to hide Magala in the field. They might rather go with a spinner as a replacement. Seeing how Australia struggled against spin, we are facing Australia at Lucknow. We might need three spinners, and that could be a possibility and a possible option for this team. Um, yeah, I think there's going to be a rotation in this. I'm going to say it. I do believe no matter whether we agree with it or not, I think that we might get some rotation in this particular World Cup. We might see players get utilized according to conditions. We might not see the same 11 play every single game, exactly the same 11. I think there's going to be changes made. I think that's why we're trying to get everybody in a rhythm and everybody um, in form, so that we can go ahead and try and select players based on conditions, and picking the players according to what is needed at a specific ground. So that is something that I'm happy for, and I think I'm going to bring Werner back, and as we read the he's gone again. So we're going to have to wait for him to come back. But yeah, three spinners in certain games will be on automatic because Aiden Markram is there. I don't think we have three spinners. We're not going to have three spinners in the squad. So Aiden Markram is there, and we probably will have to utilize that. But that gives us an option to have an extra seamer like Rob once, so to still utilize that all rounder at 8. So let's see what happens with regards to that. Pina said, did someone say he made runs in 4-day cricket as well? I'm not 100% sure what he's talking about. I'm going to bring Werner in while we read out the comments. Welcome back, bro. I was convinced Kutsia will be the fourth pacer, says Amit, in World Cup, as he can bat at number 8, but Ngidi has shown his worth with a new ball. Let's talk a little bit more about Ngidi, because there's a lot of people that have been quite critical of him in recent times. It's good to see. He doesn't look as fit as he was a year or so ago. He was starting to look a lot more leaner, more toned, etc. It looks like his time's on the sidelines because he hasn't really played much cricket. Every team he's gone to, he's been sitting on the sidelines. He hasn't really played much, and then for South Africa too. What's your thoughts on Lungi? Is it looking like he's coming back to the Lungi that we know? Because we know that he's an extremely talented bowler. We know what he's capable of. It's just now about seeing that more consistently for South Africa. That I think is maybe the issue now. What's your thoughts on Lungi?
Yeah, no, we do know he's a very good bowler. He's a strike bowler. He takes a lot of wickets in limited overs cricket, especially. He looked a lot better today. He did struggle in the T20s, but most of our bowlers did. So it's good. He's been pretty consistent in ODIs. He hasn't had his best year, but I still think he's better than Gerald or Sisanda at this stage. So he'd probably still be my third best bowler after Anrich and KG. So important that he continues to fire, especially in the last match coming up, which will be like a virtual final for us ahead of the World Cup. It'll be a good test for all our bowlers again at the Wanderers, small boundaries, thin air. So it should be a good test again. Though we did see in the SA20 that that pitch looked to get a bit of turn, so it might not be as good as the Supersport Park wicket, but you still get plenty of boundaries over there.
Yeah. Okay, so Lawrence says our batting was never really the problem heading into the series. We had a lot of guys who did well last season. Our bowling needs a bit of work, but at least today I saw a plan from the Pacers. Yeah, it's also the thing that I was happy about when I looked at the games that we are playing. I thought that in Bloom and in Potch we might get maybe similar conditions to what we'll get in certain grounds in India. Now, I'm not saying everywhere because they are going to be spinning wickets, but there are certain grounds where the pitches can be quite flat and there's maybe a little bit of uneven bounce. That's something that we might face in India in certain grounds. So when I looked at this, I thought this is great that we're playing at Centurion and Johannesburg in the last two, because those are two grounds that majority of our players are familiar with, and they're familiar with the conditions. And it's a big, high-scoring ground so that our batters can really get loose towards the end. So either way, whether we were 2-0 up in the series or whether we were in a situation where we needed to perform and we needed to come back, I thought that having the last two there in a situation where it's 2-1 or 2-3 or whatever, 2-1 or 2-2, for example, it was the perfect set up for South Africa to get that experience for the World Cup under pressure. So either that or to allow themselves to free their arms and really get out there and get some good batting under their belt, because we know how the ball travels in the IFL. So yeah, I mean, Lawrence, we saw that we were a little bit rusty going into this. Our batters at least needed some rhythm, especially Rassie, KLAASEN maybe. I know they came off tournaments, but I'm talking about now for South Africa. I mean, we don't play a lot of ODI games anymore as we used to. We don't play as much cricket as we used to. So it's good to see that they can, when they put their heads together and they have the spirit. I think the thing that stood out to me the most about today's performance was the fielding. I think the energy that we saw in the field, the smiles on our faces when we did amazing things, that KG took, how the whole team surrounded him, the smile on Quinton de Kock's face, other than when he was sitting on his little helmet in between, looking miserable, while everybody's dancing to Waka Waka. It's crazy. So, um, yeah, I think that the energy with Werner was something that made me proud, because even if we lost this game, I would have sat there being sitting proud about the way they performed from a energy perspective, the effort that they put in.
Yeah, yeah, they did look a lot better. A lot of energy in the field. Everybody was throwing themselves around, taking good catches, making good stops. Yeah, it did look a lot better. There was intent from the bowlers. They ran in with purpose. A lot more bounces, putting the Australians on the back foot. Even though they got a few boundaries off it, I enjoyed seeing more bounces. Not letting them just come on the front foot like they did in the first couple of matches. So yeah, a lot more intent all around, bat, ball, and in the field, and that's very good to see.
Mm. I mean, a Yorker is something that I want to see more. I mean, I would like to see our bowlers bowl a lot more Yorkers. I think Andrik Nokia actually has a decent Yorker. I just think he needs to utilize it more in international cricket personally.
Yeah, when KG started, he had a fantastic Yorker, and he used to bowl quite a few in Test matches even, and that took wickets. So I do miss that side of KG.
Hmm. Lorenzo asking, is there a world where we'll play 7 batters at some stage in the World Cup? Quinton de Kock, Temba Bavuma, Rassi van der Dussen, Riza, Markram, Klaasen, Miller, Jansen, Kesh, KG, or Shamsi, Nokia. But then Markram must bowl 10 overs. I don't see that happening. Werner, what is your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I don't see it happening either. Maybe if our squad was a bit different and we had somebody like a Tristan Stubbs and he came in at number 7, then he could maybe share some overs with Aiden. But no, I don't see us playing 7 batters and then relying on 10 overs from Markram. I don't think that's a good idea.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, we just need our top order to lay a platform, and then our middle order to seal it at the end. That's just the way it's going to have to be, and that's generally how we've played our best cricket in the past as well. Even when AB was still playing, we did our best when we had that platform between Amla and Quinton at the top,
Yes.
and then a number 3 in I don't know, Riley Rousseau or Faf. Would then lay that big platform, and then AB would come in, and David Miller would come in, and they'll seal it there at the end. So that's probably what when we play our best cricket. Yes, we'd like to bat deeper. I'd love us to bat to number 9 and have an all rounder at
Mm.
number 7 and 8. That would be ideal, but we don't have that right
Yeah, we don't. I think it's gonna take some time for us to find someone that can be consistent enough at domestic cricket to take that spot. I mean, that's something that we need. A lot of our number sevens last season in domestic cricket didn't really put up their hands and perform consistently. We saw a little bit here from and there from Ethan Bosch, for example, that can maybe play the 8, but there's no sevens, like genuine sevens, like other that like Vian Mulder was playing a little bit higher up for the Lions, and he did have a good season. He had a very good season now in England. So I'm hoping that this will be his breakthrough season, because he possibly could be that number 7 for South Africa if he puts in the work with the bat. Even though I think he bats better higher up in like a 5 position maybe. Like I think that's a better position for him. But he doesn't have that power eating game that a 7 maybe needs. You needed someone that has like that can clear the boundary and really put on great performances at the back end.
now. Yeah,
So that number 7's we lacking. I mean, there's obviously what's his name from the Lions? Um uh
Evan Jones.
Evan Jones, yes, that's his name. Sorry, Evan. Yeah, so there's Evan Jones that we want to see a little bit more consistency from. Um, there's there's maybe a Delano Potgieter that we'd like to see maybe back in Gauteng again, back at his home ground again, playing there. Hopefully he can maybe show that he's capable of something like that. So we need more consistency from those. Mapung Wana, he needs a good season again because he's still young. So I think that's the problem at the moment. Our number 7s, Jason Smith has been decent, but I think also is another all rounder that's like 5. He's not
Yeah.
a all rounder
Also, they
necessarily.
I think the problem for Jason is that because the Dolphins have had so many options in their lineup, he's hardly had a ball in the last season.
Mm,
They've just had so many all round options. They had
yeah.
um, the Swart, but luckily the Swart has now moved over to the Dragons. But they have Bryce Parsons, they have John Smarts now. They have so many all rounder options that they haven't really used Jason's
Use them,
bowling
yeah.
much.
Yeah, and they've got brilliant bowlers too with Neil Bartman, and they've got obviously their spinners were played a lot as well. So yeah, it makes it a bit tricky. So let's see which number seven stand up. I mean, this is the reason why we wanted to have a list day tournament first before the 4 days. Like we normally start with the T20s first at the beginning, and then a knockout competition, and then we go into like 4 days, etc. So we're seeing a list A competition happening first, which is something that's different for our domestic cricket. I don't know when last we've had that, but it's right before the World Cup, so we might see a lot of these guys, try to show, because we know that Rob's eyes are going to be on this as well.
Yeah.
He's most likely going to be watching this because for some traveling reserves that might be on standby. That's my thought process when it comes to why we're not why we haven't announced traveling reserves yet. I think we're going to pick guys when they're needed based on form, and that's basically why they've had this tournament now. So let's see, because they know Rob's watching. So let's see which players will put up their hands. Akshay says, what is the problem with Magala's fitness? So I'm just going to give you a quick fitness update. ODI captain Mavuma was unavailable today because he had a abductor strain, and it was a precautionary measure. He has been ruled out of this match only. And then Aiden Markham captained the side, but then Magala, he had a knee issue from what I saw. Um, so that's why he hasn't played. Yeah, so I think it's the same knee probably that's giving him trouble that he had beforehand. Um, but yeah, he's not looking the fittest, um, Magala, at the moment. It's a little bit of a concern for me. Will they maybe change him out for someone like Wayne Parnell when Wayne Parnell gets fit or not? That could be a potential option, a left arm swing bowler, and that has played, that understands the Indian conditions quite well. That might be a good option, maybe that they should maybe look at. I think, because at the moment I don't think there's enough time for Magala to get into a full fitness with his injuries that he's getting now. He's getting too many injuries now right before World Cup to recover from those injuries and then get fit as well. On top of that, to be ready for a world tournament like that, it's a tough ask.
Yeah, it is a bit concerning. I am also worried about his fitness at this stage. He didn't look great in that last match. He struggled, even running between the wickets with Aiden Markram. So I'm a bit concerned going into World Cup with him. If Parnell does recover from his shoulder injury, I don't think it would be a bad option. I actually think that he'd be a better option in the power play with the ball than Janssen, and he's done that role quite a lot. So it would definitely be an option. But hopefully Maganda, Maganda forever. I hope Magala gets a match fit soon. Any sort of fit actually at this stage, because we can't have a guy that's having niggles every second match, and we can't take a guy into the World Cup who's going to have that struggles all the time, because he's one of our, let's say, backups. But you can't have a backup who's not ready when he's needed.
Mhm. Yeah, Lawrence say Khalid finally Klaasen finally took his own advice, Khalid, because I mentioned on the last stream, he gave a press conference talking about the basics and all of these things, and they need to place it away, and then he went out for attack. So today, he obviously taking his own advice. Magnificent performance. I really chuffed with him. But I did say before the series, he's probably South Africa at the moment with regards to, especially with form, he's our best batter in form at the moment, based on what he's done at other tournaments and the way he's performed now for South Africa as well. He's really dangerous, and I'm happy that we have him and we can utilize him. My main concern is the rate at which our key guys are getting injured needs to be questioned. I'm not sure if it's because they don't play enough 50 over cricket or there's something missing with our conditioning process at the Proteas specifically. I think it's got, me personally, I think it's got to do with um, the lack of international cricket that they play, especially the longer formats of the game, because they're playing T20 cricket a lot, but they're not playing a lot of 4-day cricket. at all. Actually, a lot of these guys don't play 4-day cricket, and they don't play Test cricket a lot either. So they're not playing the longer format of the game. They're only playing T20. So when they do play 50 overs and longer formats of the game, it's a lot more strenuous than T20 cricket. So I think they conditioned for T20 fine, but when it comes to the longer formats, you can see that they may be lacking a little bit over there because of the lack of game time. I mean, we saw Temba cramp up because he hasn't really played much. We're seeing now Lungi has been out for quite some time, hasn't played in a long time, and now coming back also cramping up a little bit. So I do think that maybe has something to do with it. I'm not really concerned at the moment because I don't think there's massive injuries that we need to be worried about for the World Cup. I think Nokia will recover fine. I don't think it's hectic. I think it's maybe just a back spasm that he maybe just needs some physio for, and he just needs some rest maybe, and then he'll come back fine. I'm not really concerned about Pavuma. It's precautionary at the moment. And I think that's really the only, and then Magala is a concern because that's knee injury when you're a bowler. That's almost game over for you, basically. What's your thoughts on that, on the conditioning of the Proteas, etc.? Because we do have a strength and conditioning expert as our main coach, So
Yeah, he might be pushing them too hard.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I agree. It's probably just that long match fitness, because 50 overs is a lot longer than 20 overs. I can attest to that. The last time I tried to play 50 overs, it feels like you're there forever. So I think that's probably it. We just need some overs under our belt. Um, so I'm sure the guys will be fine, and they'll be monitored well,
Mhm.
and rotated as necessary. I do think Susanda is the only real concern in terms of fitness.
Kani saying, why are you forgetting Linda Khalid? Here of Linda. So I said, I haven't forgotten him. It's just something that we talk about on this channel like tirelessly. It comes up every single show.
Hey,
There's something behind the scenes that's going on with regards to Geoff and the Proteas and CSA. I don't know what's going on there, but at the same
Khalid,
time,
why are you not talking about Matthew Boast? I mean, that's what you should be doing.
yeah, we should be talking about. I mean, Matthew Boast, guys, we want to push 19-year-olds into teams before they've even played for the province. But when it comes to Geoff Linda, for example, I've never seen him as a number 7. And I might be a little bit of a controversial take, but I've never seen him as a number 7 that comes in and smacks. He plays much higher up for the Western Province, and he has some time to get his eye in. And that's when he is at his best. 4-day cricket, 1-day cricket. That's how I see him when he plays for Western Province. So I've always seen Geoff as a type of player that, yes, he spins, but he's a batter first, in my opinion. He's not a spinner first, in my opinion. It's not like, we're not talking about someone um, like let me think about someone. Senera Mutasami, maybe that's a spinner first and maybe a batter second, even though you will say that he's a batter first and a spinner
Yeah,
second.
that's not a good
So,
example. He's
so,
a batter first, and then more somebody like Bjorn
so
Fortuyn.
or Bjorn Fortuyn. Yeah, but yeah, Bjorn Fortuyn. I mean, so Bjorn Fortuyn is in one, and I'm trying to think of another person. Um, there aren't many really to talk about that spin and bat. But yeah, he's not a Bjorn Fortuyn that comes in at 8. But I'm trying to think of someone at 7, man, that does that role. Um, yeah, I can't think of anybody. But for me, Linda is a middle order batter for me. Um, that's how I've always seen him. I don't know what you think about that, Werner.
Yeah, I do see him as more of a batting all rounder than the other options we have. But also, yeah, more like a Vian Mulder role, not quite. Maybe a number 5. Um, so yeah, that's the problem. I would never use Vian Mulder at number 7, though I know we've used him in that position because we've tried him as a bowling all rounder. But ideally, he should be used as a batting all rounder, because even though he hasn't shown that much of it at the international level, he is still a better batter than he is a bowler. And you ideally want to use him at number 4 or number 5, and then you'd rather shift some of your other guys maybe lower down who can hit the big shots. So yeah, that's the problem we have. We don't have that number 7. Ideally, if you want the number 7, you'd probably want somebody like a Donovan Ferrara who can just come in and smash the ball, and then maybe give you a few overs with the ball as well. But yeah,
Um, Wayne Parnell is a much better bowler than Janssen, says Kani. Joseph Van Heerden says if Janssen can't score runs like Marsh, Stokes, or Jadeja, then he's not an all rounder since he's going for 7, 8, 9 runs every game. Kutsia also bowls very loose. Ngidi silenced his haters. Yeah, they are still quite young. I don't see both of them playing in a lot of matches for in the World Cup. I see one of the two playing. That's how I see it. But I think we've settled kind of on him being the number 7, Marco Janssen. So I don't see both of them playing in every match. I think it's too much inconsistency, too much pressure on two youngsters in their first World Cup. I think it would be crazy to do that consistently throughout the World Cup. We might see maybe one game, or maybe if we almost um, if we can win from the start and then we may basically clinch our knockout spot early, then maybe we'll see something like that. But I don't think in pressure situation games that we'll see both of them play. I think Nokia will be the number 1 bowler that they go for, and KG. Those two are, I think, are the two main ones, and then they'll build the spinners around that and extra seamer around that. Let me play devil's advocate, says Lawrence. Say Nokia's back flares up again and he doesn't recover in time for the World Cup. Who replaces him? Williams, or do we replace him with Pace in the Pavlum, left field, of course? I think they'll probably call up Williams first because he's already part of the Protea setup.
I think
To the
they'll call
squad.
up Arnau first.
Or Parnell, yeah. Or Parnell
Arnau
first.
first, and in all honesty, I'd rather call up Stubbs because I still feel we need a
We
second
need extra
batting
batter.
replacement, because you can't call up Riza if Miller gets injured. I mean, what's he gonna do? We can't shift the entire batting lineup just because of that. We don't have somebody like a KLAASEN or a Miller in the reserves, or in the 15 right now. So I'd probably call up Stubbs. If we really need to call up a bowler, then and Parnau is fit, then I'll call up Parnau.
And I think they're just keeping an eye on that because they can still fly someone up. Then they can fly someone up that's in form. If when Stubbs is playing now, he'll be playing for the Warriors and getting in form and playing with freedom because that team allows him to play with freedom. So you'll be really getting into the flow of things, and Rob can keep an eye on him. And then if something does happen, you can then make a decision. So I think that's actually a smart move to have the Momentum One Day Cup start now, or the One Day Cup start now. So you say One Day Cup
Yeah,
start
they
now.
did that on purpose. They
Yeah.
switched it up and made a One Day Cup now, and then the CSA T20 Challenge will be ahead of the T20 World Cup next year.
Yeah, and I think that's a brilliant move from them because we can really make sure that we can select people on form, which I think is what's going to be needed. Let's take a final few comments. Magala's fitness looks worse than IPL. He hasn't been able to play his natural game. He has to constantly play in survival mode. I don't know who you're talking about. I missed a comment before that. Okay. Geoff Linde told you in an interview that he's the best all-rounder in South Africa. Siskani, as he did. I think he is one of the best all-rounders in the country in domestic cricket. I honestly do think so. When you look around South Africa, I think he is. He's performed regularly on a regular basis. I don't think he's bowled. He's played enough for South Africa for him to make that claim, though. But when you look at his performances domestically, you have to say that we don't really have a genuine all-rounder. So he's kind of one of the few general all-rounders that we do have, and it is a bit puzzling that they haven't really maybe they looked at that. Apparently, George said that Rob did speak to him. So yeah, it is true, and what he said, that he is one of the, I believe he's one of the best, and because I think there are quite a few all-rounders in the country that maybe bat a little higher up, or that bat in that five position that are decent. And do we count the likes of Aiden Markram and them as all rounders. No, I'm just joking. Um, Batters that can bowl. Marco is always having either too good or too bad. Need to get the basics in control. Yes, I've been saying that on the shows recently. Khalid, I was responding to a comment about Jansen before. Oh, no. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So Brian has been the best off spinner, should be ahead of Shamsi, can bat a bit as well, consistently ignored by CSA. You can't compare Shamsi and Brian. I don't like it when people compare wrist spinners to off spinners. It's like completely two different. Like it's like comparing an opening batter to a number six batter. Like they're two specialist positions. Like you can't compare the two of them like for like. But anyway, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. I think I would like to maybe, or let me just get your thoughts maybe for the next game, Werner. Like, would you want any changes? Do you want to see the same team play? What's your thoughts on the next game?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. Timber obviously comes back if he's fit for Riza, I'd say, with Rasi doing well today and probably still our top pick for ODIs ahead of Riza. And then I'd look at conditions. If the pitch is similar to how it was in the SA20, where it assisted spin, then I'd consider playing both spinners in Shamsi and Keshav, and maybe drop Gerald for the next match. That's probably the only two changes I'd consider making.
Yeah, so I'm aligned with that because, like you said, I mean, I was at that Wanderers game. I was at the Wanderers in during SA20. The pitch doesn't look like the Wanderers that was spoken about. I mean, for a while, ever since they got that ban, it's really hasn't really been the true Wanderers. So almost got the ban. Sorry, almost got the ban. So yeah, I remember that the game against India, like the way the ball was like deviating in uneven bounce, knocking people on the helmet and stuff. It was madness. I was like, whoa, this pitch is crazy. And ever since that, it's been quite a weird pitch. The Wanderers never consistent. And I really thought with Evan coming in, it's been better. But I always thought with Evan Flint coming in, that he'd be able to fix it, but it's not something you can fix in 1 year. It's grass grows, it takes a while to grow. So you can't just fix that very quickly. You need some time with that pitch to get it right than it was before. But anyway, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. Werner, thanks a lot for joining me on the show. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell for all future videos. We are 30 odd away from 4,000 subscribers. So please go tell your friends and family to support and subscribe so we can hit that 4,000 milestone. Also, subscribe to Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every month. Link is on the screen as well in the description. You'll see articles from Werner, you'll see articles from my other writers, etc. in that magazine. So please go ahead and check it out. Also, you can become a patron today to show your support and keep the lights on here at Cricket Fanatics magazine. Become a patron today. Link is on the screen as well as in the description. Smash the like button, comment, and share. And go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all regular updates. So without further ado, I'll say good night to you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope all of you guys will have a great weekend. There's a lot of sport happening this weekend, so tune into it.
Watch some domestic cricket tomorrow, guys.
Domestic cricket happening.
Cricket South Africa's YouTube channel.
Yeah, domestic cricket happening. There's Premier League games are back on. There's the Rugby World Cup. There's also cricket for South Africa on Sunday. So it's going to be a crazy sporting weekend. I hope you guys enjoy it. Werner, hope you stay well, and we'll see you guys very, very soon. Peace out, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.